As 2013 comes to its end, it's that time again where all the top 10 lists come out. 10 is a nice even number, but I opted for 7 because that was all I felt were really worthy to make the list. Instead of artificially lengthening it, I've settled on 7 games from 2013 that stood out from the crowd. Just like any other list, these are my own personal choices, and I don't expect or really care whether or not you agree with me. So let's hop right into it and get this party started. Number 7. LEGO Lord of the Rings. It may surprise you that this made my list, but then again, it may not. This game stands above other LEGO games that have been released in the past, and is truly a joy to play, even if you're not a hardcore LOTR fan. The combination between authentic vocals, a touch of LEGO humor, and the brilliant way the developers managed to capture the essence of Tolkien's world in LEGO form is truly breathtaking at times. This is a game that you can just have a good time with and easily deserves to make this list. They take a lot of the pre-existing scenes and perspectives that we've already known from the movies and add a new spin to them. This has really differentiated this game from what other games have attempted in the past. I had a fantastic time playing this game, just running around the Shire, running around the world, and just interacting with the characters in ways I never had before. You owe it to yourself to play this game. Number 6. Strike Suit Zero. I surprised myself with this one, but I feel that this game has a place on this list. While I'm terrible at space combat games, the strike suit is a pretty fun concept. The battles are immense and extremely fun, and it controls well on both a mouse and keyboard or gamepad. This is an indie game and they brought in a great OST, decent voiceovers, and a decent story all to go with the excellent combat system. In a time when space combat games have been mostly absent from the world for nearly a generation now, it's good to see developers venturing into that territory again. Number 5. Starbound. Keeping with the sci-fi theme, Starbound is similar to Terraria, except revamped and with an entire universe at your fingertips. In previous incarnations of the Minecraft-esque games, you would be situated on a single planet or world where you would gather resources and build to your heart's content. But, once you exhausted that world, you'd have to create a new one and sometimes even make a new character to go with it. But, not anymore. Now, one world is just the beginning. In Starbound, you have your very own spaceship that allows you to explore the galaxy. Your imagination is the limit here, and thus this game gets a well-deserved place on my list. Number 4. Tomb Raider. While I was never a fan of Tomb Raider in the past, I have to say, while there were some annoyances and shortcomings, such as the repeated abuse of QTEs in the beginning of the game, this was a rather fantastic reboot of the series. The story could have been better, but the gameplay was solid and I can't recall the last time I had so much fun with a bow and arrow in a video game. While in many ways this was similar to the experiences we've had with Uncharted, it took Tomb Raider past that into survival territory. I loved seeing our main character fighting to survive through the game and really showing the aches and pains that plagued her along the way. If they can get the story department up to the same level as Naughty Dog, then further entries in the rebooted series should be a joy to play and further down my list. Number 3. The Wolf Among Us. If you aren't familiar with Telltale games, then you should be. They really brought point-and-click adventures back with their Walking Dead game series, and now they're doing it again with The Wolf Among Us. Most of us grew up reading and listening to stories about various fairy tale characters. To see these characters brought to life in a gritty, human-esque way, with real personalities, real problems, and all the drama, character flaws, and such that comes along with that is fantastic. And then to be able to direct the flow of the story with your various choices, usually in direct conflict with your personal morals, is something very few games ever achieve. This is one of those games that really makes you think, and I personally cannot wait for the next episode.
No need to kick up a fuss. I'm looking at a 3-foot toad.
Number 2. Shadow Warrior. In a time when the FPS genre has gotten stale, here comes Shadow Warrior to mix things up. Many developers are stuck in this military shooter way of doing things these days, with shooter after redundant shooter being released. Usually the game is very little from release to release, and the single player story is a half-assed, on rails, glitchy waste of your time. Shadow Warrior can be a bit linear at times, but it's something we haven't really seen in years. It's a goddamn fun game with a ton of hilarious one-liners and banter between the two main characters to keep a smile on your face. The combat system is fantastic, whether you prefer slicing and dicing with your sword or shooting everything up, and it never gets old. With about 10 hours of gameplay for the first playthrough, it's a solid shooter that will keep you coming back for more. Number 1. Remember Me. Surprise! I don't think anyone saw this coming. Remember Me suffered from some issues with the combat system and the absolute linearity of the game, but neither of those is enough of a reason to deter this from being my number 1 game of the year. The world of Remember Me, the creativity of the memory hunters, the absolutely gorgeous texture work throughout the game, the beautiful and unique soundtrack, and the bold move of having a female protagonist all makes this game stand above the rest. While Tomb Raider also had a female as the lead, that was already an established franchise that had a pre-existing fanbase. Remember Me was a brand new franchise, and it was undoubtedly a bold move to go down this route. The atmosphere of this game and the sheer creativity that the development team brought to the table here really stood out to me. With this game having been officially cancelled once and being picked up by another studio before finally being released, I have great respect for those that kept with the game until the bitter end. And so I honor it with the number 1 slot on my list. Here's hoping that Remember Me continues in the future and we get to see more of Neo Paris. And that's it, folks. 2013 has been a roller coaster of both fantastic and dreadful games. But like with any year, there's always a few jewels that pop up along the way. I hope you all enjoyed 2013 as much as I did. But with that being said, we have a brand new generation of consoles and a landslide of games coming our way in 2014. We're going to be in for quite a year, so I hope your wallets are ready. Anyway, thanks for tuning in, and as always, I'll see you guys next time.